Great to see you all. It is most excellent to be back at the FSExpo. This is our third time. The first time we went in Houston, and I wanted to show you something. We wore black, and it was hot as hell and sweaty. And then we went to Vegas, and we're clued in, and we got white. And if you were in Vegas, you know it was cold in that exhibit hall, so we were freezing our butts off. So I have a quick question for you. We're wearing blue today. Any clue why? Now, I didn't hear it. So I give you a clue. It was, I asked Evan, and it's local. Anybody?
Mississippi. World Cup.
I knew it, Evan. I knew it. So it's the St. Paul Saints, a minor baseball team. Don't ask me why, but that's what we did. All right, so before we start, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this awesome hobby. Thank you for engaging on our platforms. Thank you for giving us feedback. I think you know this. Those people who are playing the flighting builds are incredibly important to us. I just saw the numbers this morning. Sim Update 5.1 is the most stable we've ever been since 2020, since we launched. And it's due to you guys. So thank you so much for the feedback. Also want to say thank you for being so friendly. You know, sometimes they say there's grumpy simmers and stuff. I don't think that's true. I got hundreds of emails from people on PlayStation saying how nice y'all were. And that really adds to the hobby. I put the little stat down there. This is the second highest MAU, in case you don't know what that is, monthly active users. So there's a number of people that play Flight Sim since we launched. And the only time we had more was when we launched Top Gun. So it's quite something. The hobby is growing, which is good for all of us. All right, so I don't know how many of you watched the Xbox Keynote, but we were just in the Keynote last weekend. We introduced World Update 22, national parks in the United States, and national monuments, and also something else, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I got a lot of emails, and basically I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about what is this, why are we excited. I'm personally excited. Personal story, I made a decision to move to America, sitting on Enchanted Rock in Texas, which is a national monument. And for me, this holds a special place. I think this is a beautiful country, and it should be celebrated, and this is why we did this World Update, just right in time for the 250th anniversary. So we made this little keynote thing. And so what is it? So obviously you saw a trailer. It was not very long, 90 seconds in total, right? So the first 60 seconds showed you some countryside. But it's countryside taken by Condor. And we did 31 national parks and national monuments. The resolution is 15 to 30 centimeters, which is awesome. And when you think about what you've experienced so far, it's mostly what you saw in the Grand Canyon, just in a lot of places. In fact, we have 413,000 square kilometers, which is the size of Sweden, that are coming with this update in that resolution, which is great. It's possible because of this. We have this partner, largest company in the world that does these types of things. These cameras are ludicrously expensive, but they give us this data. And I just wanted to show you a couple of those things as they come in. And I can't wait for you to see it because it just looks so awesome. The other thing that's really cool about this World Update is the first time that we have the water masks from Bing integrated. And that means that the water edges are now essentially pixel perfect, which I think is a big deal for this. Like, for example, this canyon here in Utah. But it's also a big deal for going forward because the water is going to be much better. The second thing, this is a World Update, so in the trailer we only had that much time, right? So Gaia made 46 POIs because we didn't want to just have the tin, we also wanted locations. So we did a lot of visitor centers here, Joshua Tree. I'm just going to go through this real quick. If you went to any of these places, you know how accurate this is. Here's Canyonlands, Petrified Forest. If you were at the GPE event, you know this. This is the South Rim Center. And then Asobo actually just coded something new, which is you can blend together materials between terrain and objects. That helps us with things like this. So some of the arches don't reconstruct well, so we handcrafted them, or rather Gaia did. And then you get some really cool shapes. And here's tunnel view, et cetera, et cetera. So then there's also an airport. There's only one in a national park. It's Jackson Hole, and Gaia did this one. It looks great. I don't know how much you're looking at Gaia's airports, but I think they're getting better and better as we go. I'm super proud of what we're doing here. And then there's something new. We have something that's called guided tours. We actually wanted to do this for launch, and we didn't get there. It's basically tours that are commented, because these national parks really deserve to be commented. So there's 3 of them, Grand Canyon, Grand Teton, and Bryce Canyon. And then the last thing, and some people noticed this right away, we also celebrated last year, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of Goodyear. And I talked to Goodyear a little bit about it. I was like, hey, 250 years United States, how about it? And they were super excited. So they collaborated with us, and iBuilds made this Goodyear blimp, and it's really, really cool. And it's, of course, all free, as always, right? So, and then the Xbox keynote also showed the National Championship Air Racing, which is super good. We're working with the organization that runs this show. As you might know, they moved from Reno to Roswell 2 years ago. This is actually the old picture we used from Reno, because it's still in there. So a lot of people ask me, what is it? What are we actually doing? So quick story, we launched the Reno Air Races in November 2021 in 2 different versions. One was a sort of a smaller add-on called Expansion Pack with 4 aircraft, and then there was a collection with another 40, basically variances. I had some regrets, quite frankly, because I thought we should have put the Reno Air Races themselves into the base sim. Making that behind a paywall, I think, was a bad idea. So I tried to fix this by putting the 4 aircraft into the base sim of 2024 when we launched, but there were no air races. So now, this fall, we are launching the National Championship Air Races in 2024, and here's what's coming back. So the Reno location, the whole atmosphere of the festival, the music, all that stuff, the 4 classes, the aircraft selection 3D, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a bunch of new things. So there is the base Reno experience is now free. Roswell, the new location, is being modeled right now. There's a 5th class, which is a stall drag race, really fun. It's much more authentic. If you played Reno at all, you could literally just push the stick forward and go full throttle and nothing ever bad happened to you, which is not how the real world race works at all. So there is now engine stress management, flight model was redone, wear and tear for engines, and then there was a light art upgrade. And we have improved the multiplayer. There's now scheduled races, public races, and private lobbies. All right, so that is all coming out here. You can see a little bit where the team is at right now with the scenery layout, and it's coming together great, and we're intending to launch this in the fall. And that gets us to the roadmap. Sometimes if you watch our dev Q&As, you see these things. So we're sort of halfway through the year now. It's June, and we promised 2 things in June. City Update 15, and a base sim aircraft, and also the Piper M60. So let's look at City Update 15. Anybody guess what we have? Yes, and? Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, which doesn't roll from the tongue, but a lot of people said, hey, Chicago, guys, you know, so we have a much, much bigger Chicago. We have a bunch of other cities, so I think you'll be delighted by this. That is launching, oh, I have a trailer. Let's do that. Trailer 1. All right, so this is launching as we sit here. Okay, and the second thing we said was Expert Series 2. We showed that at Dev Q&A, and I'm so happy to work with Raul Morales from FSReborn, and he's here to talk about it. There he is. Hello.
How we doing, Minneapolis? Give me a cheer. Yay! I am super excited to be here with the team and have the opportunity to showcase the Piper M600 as an expert series. I wanted to bring to the entire Microsoft Flight Simulator community something different. And we spoke to Jorg about this over a year, and we've been working together to bring something that start bringing actually that concept of what is an expert series. So this aircraft is capable to fly very long journeys on low cruise settings, but you can actually go pretty fast at 274 knots. It's capable of having 6 seats and an altitude of 30,000 feet. Let's have a look a little bit inside. So the aircraft will come with a full suite of G3000 suite, and we developed for the first time on the G3000 reverse engineering mode. So as you can see in there, on the first picture, we can see when you turn on the aircraft, all the display of the engine will be ready for you just as the real aircraft does. We have modeled over 100 circuits simulated for your own enjoyment, so you can have fun destroying it or flying it correctly. And I do encourage you to fly it correctly. With the help of working title, we have developed auto throttle and all the avionics that you see on the pictures. But we went further. We wanted to give you guys a taste of what happens if I don't fly this right. And we put custom engine simulation, custom fuel temperature simulation, pressurization, all that. And you were thinking, well, it's all this very nerdy. What does that mean? If you fly this aircraft too high and it's very cold, your fuel lines will freeze and have fun. But there is much more. This is an aircraft with consequences that you can see there on the picture. So what will occur is that if you feel brave enough, yeah, I can fly expert series because I am a real pilot. And you enable all those settings and say, yeah, go for it. You better follow the checklist. Otherwise, you're going to be buying a new PTCG engine very shortly. As you can see on this picture, what is happening is the pilot forgot to put the ignition switch. I put all the fuel on and said, oh, my engine isn't starting. Oh, yeah, here is the switch. I went up. But what's going on is the fuel have accumulated on the engine, and the combustion chamber just receive all the fuel at once, and you get very fancy fires. And it will be very fun to watch, but not very fun to pay for the cost, as you would imagine, as it's a new engine. You will have as well hot starts and hydraulic issues with the aircraft. This is all optional. You can not enable those options and fly the aircraft just as you please. But the whole objective of bringing you an expert series is that actually you can try to be an expert, right? Is not what we want? Yes. Okay. But there is more. Autoland works. So this is simulated exactly the real aircraft as Piper has done for the safety of the pilots. You're having a problem on the air, your pilot is incapacitated, you press a button, it will calculate the route and take you directly to the closest airport possible and land the aircraft on your behalf. Includes even handling your landing gear, flaps, everything. It's incredible to watch. And this is, I'm very proud to say, thank you to the amazing team, is available today, is releasing now, as I'm speaking, as I've been told. You can, when we finish and the expo open, you can go downstairs to the booth of Microsoft. I will be there, and we'll be more than happy to showcase you the product so you can see how we can break it together, or if you wish, fly it together. Now I would like to introduce you the official trailer for the video of this amazing aircraft.
Raul nearly killed himself trying to get this done for the show today. Thank you, Raul. I'm super happy that we're doing expert series with the best people. Raul is definitely one of those. All right, so now we're talking a little bit about the future. Sim Update 6, and I think first it's going to be Seb.
Hi, so we're bringing a few improvements to the flight model and simulation in Sim Update 6. The first one is in the visualization, which we already had before. You can now visualize airflow when it goes down. So this is happening in quite a few cases, for example in the mountains. It's called föhn in some cases, when the air goes down, or downdrafts in heavy weather, or also wind shear. I have a video which shows, for example, in the mountains, in action. So this is an option you can turn on and off, and you can see the wind airflow. For example, on the side which has had more sun, the air is going up. On the other side is going down, depending on where the wind is coming from as well. On the next slide, here we have we have 4 new assistances to debug helicopters, to help helicopter creators make really great helicopters. So one is to help improve tuning the assistance of the helicopter. So this allows to assist to tune the pitch, bank, and rudder assistance. So here I'm switching this on. So you can see there's a PID for the pitch, for the bank, for the rudder, for the collective. So these assistances can be enabled in the assistance menu, and they need to be tuned per helicopter so that they work perfectly. And here you can see how the PID is accumulating and reacting in these graphics. So if, for example, the rudder assistance is moving as I'm turning. And so this debug really helps it making the assistance work. When you fly, you can see the assistances are less and less effective, and with the speed, and the graphics really help understand how this works and fine-tune the assistance. And then another one we have developed is, so it was always a little bit tricky because you didn't have any visual feedback to tune the rotor blades. Basically, there's a whole bunch of parameters to try to define the shape of the rotor blade. And here there is a new assistance now which allows to see the polars, lift and drag polars of the rotor, and reflects in real time all the parameters you can change on the rotor. And I'll show it in action. There's a yellow line which shows one of the rotors which is spinning. So obviously it's spinning pretty fast, so you can say it's vibrating. But when you fly, when you move the cyclic, you can see where actually the rotor is moving on the AOA horizontally. And this really helps to understand, for example, if you are stalling the rotor, or if you have too much drag, or if there's not enough lift. It really helps to fine-tune the rotor of the helicopter and get it just right in terms of all the settings of the rotor. So this affects, the rotor is really the most important on a helicopter. It affects pretty much everything in the flight model. So this is going to help you create much better helicopter physics. So the next option, the vertex ring state. It's classical. You can find this in some helicopter manuals. There's a classic graphic which shows where the ring state happens when you fly. So horizontally you have the airspeed, and vertically you have the vertical speed. And it's basically this you have to record. Basically you fly it, and so there's an assistance which basically locks the helicopter in place. So I sped it up. Once you get used, it's quite quick to actually go over all the different speeds. And you can see where the ring state is happening, and then when you tune it, you can see it moving. Another debug we added is the phase lag. So phase lag is also very important to tune. The phase lag is the difference between the place where the rotor is having the maximum incidence, so the maximum lift, and then and the moment where it has the maximum displacement, because the rotor is not rigid, it's quite flexible. Sometimes it has a hinge, and so the phase lag is this difference in angle. And now we have a visualization which shows you, so the exterior circle here is the lift, the incidence, and so the purple, the red is where there's the maximum, and blue is the minimum, and the inner circle shows where the displacement is maximum, so that's where it's actually moving the helicopter. And so there's a green line which shows the maximum, the orange line and the difference, and on this one obviously it's tuned to be about 90 degrees, so it's 89. So let's see it in action when you move. So this shows, so it's again same in the menu. So this shows the effect of the cyclic when I'm going left or right. You can see how it affects the rotor incidence, the lift, and the phase lag, how it's moving. So the goal when we tune this is to make it constant. Obviously, it's much easier to move and to control the helicopter. Stay at around 90 degrees. And you can see when I fly a little bit faster, the lift is going to get higher on the opposite side, because that's the dissymmetry of lift of the rotor, and obviously it affects also the phase lag, which is not staying at 90 when I go faster, and so that depending on the way we tune the helicopter rotors, this affects the phase lag at different speeds. Another very important addition is, so we wanted to make it easier for users to understand when they're getting into turbulence and how strong these are. And so in the turbulence, where you can visualize all the turbulence in the world, all three different types of turbulence, you have now a display of the intensity and what is actually causing it. And so we're showing the strength of the turbulence from none to light, severe, extreme, moderate, etc. Then there's a little display which shows what is the main distribution of causes. It could be terrain, like in the earlier videos of the mountains. It can be coming from a TCU, for example, wake turbulence from another aircraft, thermals. And then we have we actually compute the EDR on all the three axes, so that you can see if it's more going to be on roll, pitch, and I'm going to show a little video in action. So first with the turbulence on, so I try to fly, so at the beginning there's no turbulence, I fly right into the TCU here, and we can see the turbulence moving up into moderate, and at some point it's going to be severe. It's affecting the different axes of the helicopter, this is a 208 of the aircraft. And here it's getting more and more uncontrollable. At some point it's going to be so severe, I'm really moving the yoke at maximum. For example, here I'm overspeeding, even though I'm pulling as hard as I can. And there's a lot of pitch down at this moment, a lot of yaw turbulence. And here I'm flying back out of the TCU, and the turbulence is going back down to moderate light. So this, we hope, is also going to help people. We have a lot of feedback on turbulence. Some people want more, some people want less. So if you have feedback, it's always good to have a screenshot of this so we can see what you actually had as a turbulence intensity when you witnessed turbulence. And more changes in Simulate 6 by Martial.
Thank you, Professor Wloch. So I am very pleased to be with you this year. Very exciting to be part of this show. This is my first time. Very glad to be here. So with the team, we've decided to pick a few topics to show you what's going on with the next SIM updates. And the very first one is what is happening with lighting for airports. So as a matter of fact, we did two things. The first thing is related to data, because there were no data available for knowing where to spawn light poles in the airport. So we decided to implement a new way of computation these positions, and we also have some additions. So we are now very pleased to say that any facilities and aprons on airports are going to be lit, and that's super nice. We will see some videos later. And we did also another implementation. We have discovered that sometimes we have data for lighting the taxiways, but as a matter of fact, the runway was not supposed to be lit. So what we did is to expand the runway lights coming by getting the taxi lights. And so every time that you will have the taxi lit, then you will have the runway lit also. So this is worth for 452 videos. As a matter of fact, I forgot a video to show you the difference. That kind of before-after situation seen from above. So the light poles, we did a selection, an automated selection. So depending on the nature of the airports, you will see the different light poles, not to have big light poles on small airports. And all the lights will be also available in the SDK, so we'll be able to edit and spawn the light poles. We have also another improvement for the night missions. In the carrier mode, people were expecting some night mission to happen, but so far we didn't do any selection between the airports that were lit or not. And it was sometimes pretty difficult to land on an airport which is completely dark. So what we did on Simulate Update 5 was to do a selection, an algorithm that was selecting only mission for the right airports, the one that were lit. But some people said, well, that's not enough. We would also like to get some missions on the not lit airports. So in Simulate 5.1, we've got another algorithm that will expand the missions during nighttime. And in Simulate 6, you will have the choice between doing some missions during nighttime on lit airports or not. And as a matter of fact, being on non-lit airports or very much difficult, you will also get some bonuses in XP for getting those. One other improvement we did was for filtering the missions. With new aircraft being available in carrier, as a matter of fact, it was difficult now to do a proper selection if you want to get a selection for your favorite aircraft. So we did another new layer for filtering. So this is what's happening now. If you want to have a mission with, let's say, a cabri, you've got to look at all the missions and to see if the mission is compliant with the aircraft you've got. And now you can do the selection and pick exactly the kind of plane you want to have missions with. Here we are. And we are pretty glad to say that we've looked at all the feedback from the community, and one of the most desired feedback we were getting was to be able to play boost trips in Flight Sim 2024. So boost trips are coming to Flight Sim 2024 with Sim Update 4, Sim Update 6, I'm sorry. And so we are bringing 59 boost trips that were initially playable in 2020, sorry. And so this is what you will get. So you've got the bush trick selection in the activities. You can see how many bush trips you will have, and there's a new selection. You will get a carousel also to be able to select the legs you want to fly. And the good news is that now that we've got the EFB on all planes, everything will be, all the live log will be available in the EFB. So we will now have the benefit from the bush trips and the quality of the ground that we have on 2024. And now we'll give the mic back to Jorg Neumann.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about the marketplace. Typically, Julie is unfortunately on vacation, so I'm talking about the marketplace today. As you know, we got some feedback. You gave a lot of feedback, like thousands and thousands of feedback. And so we try to listen, of course. So just to show you a few things we have done and talk a little bit about some things we are going to be doing. So we expanded this down there at the bottom. It now actually says what the marketplace shows. Right there to show some sale. Then we changed the hero selection. The hero selection is now full screen. We had that weird 3-button thing. It didn't really make much sense. So it's much better now. It looks good, I think. We did the same thing here. People wanted to have the scroll bars wider and a general redesign. So basically the team laid everything out. It looks much cleaner. We also did that in the page layout for the product page. The carousel is now consistent. And we just added something recently, I don't know if you saw it. We had this thing called special events, and we never really used it outside of like Top Gun and Dune and those types of things. So we now are running little sales just to show you, to bring some of the best content that really deserves your attention to the forefront. And then there's some other things. So there's now daily releases. If I remember back in 2024, there was all these concerns. We only update ever so often, and things got stuck. So that's completely not true anymore. We're now launching every single day on both 2020 and 2024. I think you probably noticed this, that updates to aircraft or airports and those types of things come much, much faster now to the end consumer. On PS5, we had started to let content in. We have like real obligations to keep that super stable, which is why it makes me so happy that Sim Update 5.1 is the most stable we've ever been, because otherwise Sony will get mad. So we have added some debug tools for aircraft. We're going to add some debug tools for airports soon. Then there was all this stuff with what showed up at the top. You know, there was some commentary on are people manipulating how the voting system works and those types of things. So we looked into this. We actually did identify inflated user scores, and we removed those now, and we will continue to monitor this moving forward. Yes, check it out today. All makes sense now. We also changed. There was this funny thing. I went to Steam. I don't know if you guys go to Steam, but I went to Steam and I sorted the entire Steam catalog by user scores. And guess what shows up at the top? Cat games. I've never heard of any of those. I've been making games for 30 years. But so there's clearly some faction that likes cats games. And so I think user score as the predominant sorting is maybe not the right thing as a default. So we changed that to revenue, which to me is sort of there's a certain truth to revenue. You know, how much money something makes probably says something about if it's any good. Then we have added curation, simply to also combat that some things showed up that probably shouldn't have been getting as much attention as they did. So the hero row is now fully curated, and then we are adding new recommended rows. I think we've done it for aircraft, maybe not yet for airports. I have some ideas of how to do this in the future. I've hit up all kinds of people that have deep insight, so I think they will hopefully help us curate these things. And then on the marketplace tool side, those of you who are creators, there's new visual indicators and content errors and things like that. For those of you creators, hopefully you enjoyed those things. And then upcoming, user-facing, trending now, bestseller sections will go up to 100. And the gamepad navigation will be improved. We heard loud and clear that that's not really great. Then marketplace content processes, we will let in additional PS5 content, which is, by the way, it's a huge audience, so if you're a creator, it's well worth it. But we have to be careful, as I said. And then we will continue to upgrade and update the heroes, and more and more marketplace tools will be streamlined. And for what it's worth, so there was so much This needs to be, I know there's other marketplaces, that's cool, but on the consoles, this is unfortunately, this is the only way, and this is an important thing to get it right. I think of this as our marketplace, and please keep the feedback coming, because we really need to make this great. Really important. Okay, and then a new feature, ta-da! I was thinking about doing it today and I said, I'm chickening out. So we're doing it whenever Sim Update 5.1 comes out. Gifting now works. Talked about gifting a lot. There are a couple of restrictions on it. So it's only to friends. Friends does not own the item, otherwise you can't gift it. You can only pay in certain currencies because there's some gray market stuff. And you can't gift VCs. But finally, gifting is coming, which I think sort of fulfills the promise of, hey, you can rent things, which by the way is working really great, and now you can gift things to friends. And then I want to talk a little bit about AAU 5. So I used to think of AAUs as simultaneous to Sim updates. If you paid attention, then you saw that Sim Update 5 and AAU 4 didn't really exactly come out at the same time. I think it's too much. I think our team was overly stressed out, and so I think I want to detach this. This will come probably a week or two after the Sim updates roll out. And I wanted to show you which are the next 5 aircraft that we're upgrading. So this is an original from INI Builds, and INI Builds is now bringing it to the 2024 standard, added Korea as appropriate. Then the Boeing 307 was originally from Airplane Heaven on 2020. This has been rebuilt by INI Builds, and with a lot more detail. The 707, also from Airplane Heaven, completely rebuilt, and we'll talk about this in a minute. There's one more seat left. It's a preview. Then there is a Curtiss Commando, again, Airplane Heaven, fully upgraded, and the Ford Tri-Motor, also completely, virtually completely remodeled. And that brings us to Famous Flyer 10, the Boeing 707. Wasn't what we wanted it to be when it launched. Heard a lot of feedback, and now we have changed developers. It's now a collaboration between Working Title and INI Builds. And to tell you more is Chris Burnett from Working Title.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I think I have the distinction of being last, but hopefully not least today. So bear with me, and I will try to get you educated on the 707 as quickly as I can. So we've rebuilt the 707 from the ground up with AnyBuilds for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And we're bringing 3 cockpit variants, the GNS from Garmin, the CIVA or CIVA INS, and then we will have a UNS-1 variant as well. When Jorg asked me to work on this aircraft, I was super excited. I love planes of this generation, of this era in the sim, so this has been a fun project to work on. Just a little background on the 320C, which is the model. Boeing designed it as a convertible. Basically, they suggested that you could convert it completely from a passenger to a cargo plane in one day with 8 people. I'm not sure I believe the marketing materials, but we've modeled a variant of this that's a combi. So the front section forward of the wings is a cargo deck, and aft of that, there are about 110 seats. So we faithfully modeled that configuration, including the cargo door and passenger entry from the rear. All right, let's talk a little bit about the CIVA or CIVA INS. This was one of the first and most popular INS units or inertial navigation units that really changed the way oceanic and long-range navigation worked. And we've integrated this with a custom autopilot and dual independent flight directors, and we've modeled drift, we've modeled the alignment process, we've modeled really the full instrument for simmers. There's a companion EFB app, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Let's see. Okay, yeah, the UNS-1. So this variant is going to be the one you're going to want to fly if you're going to be operating in a modern RNAV environment. And this is the RDR-1 weather radar, another instrument that was common in the 707 that we've built as well. And something I wanted to point out about all 3 of those instruments is they'll all be made as sim attachments, which means they'll be available for other aircraft developers in the sim once the sim releases. So you will hopefully find these instruments in other planes in the future. All right, so I want to talk about the EFB app. 707 has a custom companion EFB app, a variety of features. Focus first on the SIVA tab on the EFB. So what this does is essentially automate the process of loading and managing waypoints inside the SIVA. So the real-world SIVA can only hold 9 waypoints, ours as well. That means that for any flight plan that's more than 9 waypoints long, you're going to need to rotate or cycle waypoints through the SIVA. The EFB app just makes that really easy to do. You can optionally load arrival, departure procedures, but of course you can turn that all off and do it yourself if you're a masochist. We've got takeoff and landing data in the data cards tab on the EFB app. So you get takeoff performance information, landing performance information, and then constantly updated EPR or thrust targets available based on pressure, altitude, and temperature. There's a bunch of user options. I've listed a few here. There are still a few in development, but things like align time, light and dark mode for night flights, a couple of different HSI behavior choices, an option to convert the altitude alerter to a pre-selector if you want your autopilot to intercept altitudes. But my favorite feature is by far the virtual flight engineer. There are 12 flows that the flight engineer will go through, basically from pre-flight all the way through to securing the aircraft. These are all read out loud by the virtual flight engineer, and you can sit there in the cockpit and watch the flight engineer go through every step, which is a really cool and fun feature. It's a complex aircraft, so it's nice to be able to see how each of the systems get set up. In addition, the virtual crew will make call out to different phases of flight, mostly during takeoff and approaches, but there are also a few others throughout the flight that you'll hear. And finally, the virtual flight engineer can, of course, manage the systems that would typically be managed by the flight engineer on his panel, things like fuel flow, pressurization system, those types of systems. AnyBuild has done a really nice job with a model of this, and as we get closer and closer to release, a lot of the details are coming alive. It's been super fun to see that process and get all these cool classic instruments wired up. So just a little bit on systems depth. We have done quite a bit of systems modeling in this aircraft, as you can imagine, something this complex. One example is the electrical system. You will have to synchronize the frequencies of power sources before they can be added to the bus. You'll have to deal with a pressurization system that loves to overheat AC packs. Of course, your flight engineer can take care of all this for you, but if you want to do it, you can. Another interesting thing about the 707, so the control surfaces are flying control surfaces, and I've seen and been familiar with those on the elevator or the pitch control surfaces, but I hadn't really seen them on ailerons before. So the way this works is essentially the control wheels in the cockpit are wired to tiny control tabs on the surfaces, and those aerodynamically fly the control surfaces into the position the pilot wants. A KC-135 pilot I was chatting with about this referred to this plane as the original fly-by-wire plane, which I thought was kind of funny. Okay, we've got a custom autopilot, represents both the capabilities and limitations of an autopilot of this generation. Don't expect modern digital precision out of this autopilot, but there are dual independent flight directors, each with their own guidance computers, just like the real aircraft. Okay, we've also simulated water injection. So this was an option on the 320C, essentially a feature to enable greater thrust for hot and high departures. So you can try that out. And we've, of course, simulated directional gyro compass drift and the systems in the 707 that counter that drift. The aircraft will be career compatible. And so that's it. Thank you guys very much. I hope you're looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting it in your hands. Back to you, Jorg.
I'll speak fast because we're way over time. Okay, so upcoming releases for the rest of the year, we just showed. So simply update 15, launched just now. World Update 22 is going to launch July 4th. Sim Update 5, interesting, right? So we're still at it. As I said, the 1732 is looking really good. We promised our test team at least a week with the build before we put it out, after flighting feedback is all green. So it could be happening in the next few weeks, but it has a knock-on effect on Sim Update 6, so expect that a little bit later. I think now late July, August, maybe, and that tells you something about the AAUs we just talked about. And then our planes, I think you saw the M600 launch today. The blimp is launching July 4th, and then we've already announced the super awesome Praetor that's coming later this year. Yes, Chris, right? And then all the AAUs. And the AAUs, I just want to say, we're still learning. Some of the payload planes we launched were probably not as great as we should have done it, but we will fix them. That is a commitment from us. All right. And the only other thing I want to say is we are starting this community versus creator tournament. And Evan and I talked a little bit like, hey, you have these racing modes and all this stuff. Let's do something fun. So that's now available down at the show floor as it now opens. You can qualify. Here's a bunch of rules. I think 2 of you with the best times can play against some influencers, community folks. And I think it should be fun. We hope that this is something we can do every year going forward. We're obviously launching the National Championship air races later this year. So there's going to be more and more sort of like, hey, let's do a little bit of competitive stuff. Might be fun to do. And I think that's it. The sky is calling. Thank you so much for having us. Looking forward to seeing you on the show floor. Have a great show. Bye.